if there was anything that they didn't understand in it.
I actually, can I just read my comments I have?
Yeah.
Because, and there doesn't need to be any answers with this or feedback, but I just wanted people to know where my head was and kind of battling with. It was on lesson 6 in number 7, and I'll just read you my notes because this has always been a big battle for me. What is the reason for universal shame? Is it religious based? Why are we taught shame? Is it eternal? Why does shame refuse to leave? Shame seems stronger than most emotions, almost visceral in the body. And the cavemen women experience shame. Is shame a luxury provided by not having to worry about survival? Doesn't shame spur growth? Doesn't it remind us what not to do? What happens if we dismiss it? Does the lesson lose its luster? When does shame become unproductive? What is the balance? Is our past completely to be let go? Are we to let go of all of our foundation and never return to it? Are we to completely detach and not think of prior memories? How do we dismiss our past and not lose ourselves? How much of ourselves, our joys, sorrows, and shame are our spiritual growth? So do we ignore, shut down, say forget it? Because that's what the thing was saying about forget it to your past. Or do we need it to keep us on our path, prevent downslide or repeating mistakes? Where is balance between it being part of us versus shame harming our growth? Why does anyone continue to go back into their thoughts and think about what is shame there? Can past shame need to still be there? Is it important? What are its connections? So basically, is shame useful? Or is past to be completely let go with all energy pushed in the future? Because remember that in 7, the thing was, what can be done about it when we get distracted and go into past?
Right.
Not to think about shame, and it says the answer contains just 2 words: forget it.
Yeah.
So I was like, really,
Well, yeah. Well,
battling with the
I
balance of
understand. Look at this. Look at the full spectrum, the full scope of things. It can be a learning experience, all right? Because you screwed up. You recognize that you screwed up, and then you say, I won't do that again. All right, and that's fine. But if it becomes an anchor on your progress, then that's not healthy.
Right.
That's why they say forget it. It's either, you either release that, accept it as a learning experience, or you let it be a drag on you and hold you back.
Because forgetting it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to forget it for all eternity.
Well, yeah, and besides that, it's like...
Well, it says whenever the incident flashes into your mind, begin to think about something else.
Yeah.
Well, for some people, when I counsel them, I would never tell them that, ever.
Yeah, well...
Because to me, they needed to be in that space because their growth, because sometimes they were so detached from it, or sometimes they just didn't give a shit about what other people think about it. And the shame for them was like a feeling that for me was spurring growth.
Yeah, well, when you get into esoteric philosophy, though, it's a little bit different than being outside of it. And the rules that may apply and work effectively outside of it don't necessarily have validity inside esoteric philosophy.
See, that's where and that's what a lot of this, I think, is just philosophy. It's just, and finding that balance in between the two, for me, is what I was kind of struggling with.
Yeah, well, see, this esoteric philosophy is not like reading Alice Bailey or any of that other stuff, because it doesn't teach you anything. All it is just regurgitating what somebody wrote over 100 years ago. All right, you don't profit from it, from the knowledge, and there's not really any knowledge there. You just, it's presented to you, you read it, and you either understand it or you don't understand it. The person presenting it to you doesn't really care. But it's like the concept of reincarnation. All right. Are all your past lives, do you let those go, or do you incorporate those into your current existence as a continual as a timeline of learning experiences?
Would your
your soul keep a record of that?
Oh, yeah,
If
yeah.
you learned a lesson from something in a lifetime, it would stay in your soul, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
you have access to it in
Yeah.
the next lifetime?
That's what I would think.
Yeah, because, you know, the experiments in past life regression have indicated, you know, very valid memories, you know, going back 2, 3, 4, 5 lifetimes, you know. And some people have held that those are part of what makes you who you are today. So that if you have those memories and you can incorporate those experiences into what you are today, it will make you a more complete person today, as opposed to you not having those memories and then maybe having to do something again.
Repeat.
Yeah, do repeats.
See,
So,
and
I'm
I-
a little confused about what you just said, because you said that they were saying they don't care, but then they were having shame, which to me means that they do.
Well, they hadn't up until that point, until we started really being in the moment and feeling the emotions of it, then the shame would come. And I wouldn't want to push that way.
So that tells, I mean, if I may,
Yeah.
that seems to me like that, you know, like baby steps. Like that person's not ready for this stuff. They're sick, and you're helping them with that. And then when they're ready for this stuff, you know, they'll either find it or they won't.
Well, see, I was
But it
just,
seems like two different, you know, it seems like it could be two different things.
and I think it is, and I think I was doing the inner battle. Because, and to me, it just kind of came down to that one phrase of lessons have emotions attached to them. That is their power.
right,
Because if we didn't attach emotions to our lessons, I just think they'd go in and out, and
It'd be
yeah,
like robots.
like they wouldn't
Yeah.
grab. You know, if they don't grab, then they don't have their power to
yeah,
grab.
well, see, that's the thing.
And
is,
shame is
and
very powerful.
emotions are fine, and up until the point where they become a hindrance or detrimental to your advancement, to your progress. That's why the esoteric philosophy of the really devout practitioner is that he was without joy and without sorrow is truly balanced. Because there's nothing there that is a distraction to their studies.
That saying just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know what it is about it, but it
It's
just
a-
doesn't sit right.
Yeah, well, it's something, you know, it's, you won't, in the real devout advanced esotericists, and these people, and up till we met, are basically loners. I mean, you know, because first off, they
Right,
can't have a conversation
right.
with somebody because nobody will know what the hell they're talking about.
Well, in attachments, they don't
Right, they don't have
want
attachments.
attachments.
Well, they're not comfortable with
Because
an attachment that is not their equal.
Mm.
Somehow, to some degree, they're equal, because, you know, what are they gonna do, sit around and stare at each other? I mean, if they can't have an exchange of ideas on a comparatively even basis, you know, it's just not gonna work.
I've had a lot of trouble letting go of the past, but it's been an anchor for me.
Yeah,
Mm.
and that's,
And I know it has, and I've tried so hard to let it go,
Well,
and
see,
I need to let it go.
Mm.
see, there's that word again.
I need to let it
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
know that.
See, and that's why,
It has been
and,
an anchor,
right, and that's why they say, forget it.
unfortunately it has, because I've only remembered the bad stuff.
Mm.
Right.
That's all I remembered, and it's really
I'm
anchored
right there with you.
me. You
Yeah.
know, so I mean, to live in the now,
Mhm.
I have to let it go.
Mm.
That's been real difficult.
It's a challenge, and, you know, that's the thing, esoterics is a, you know, it challenges what you feel and think about yourself, and your relationship not only with within your own being, but also with the relationship you have with everything else outside of yourself. You know, and that includes relationships with other people, how you relate to other people, how you relate to nature, how you relate to the cosmos. I mean, you know, there's no end to that part of it. So, you know, the shame is fine as an experience to learn from, but not as a thing to hold you back.
I do think it's true, yes.
Can I say one more comment on that? Because in my experience, somebody that's responsible for their behavior, they're the ones that are gonna feel shame, you know? And at least in my experience, if to me, living in shame, because I've done a lot of it, is a bad habit. And it's kind of like how like negative, a tiny bit of negative thinking can be a good thing because it's sometimes it's rational. You know, it's rational that things don't always turn out the way that you want them to. So the shame is the same thing. I think that the initial feeling is to bring your attention that you did something that doesn't match with your spirit, right? But then if you immerse yourself in it, it takes your attention away from any path that you're supposed to be on, or any and to me, being recognizing that I am a responsible person, if I let it go, like I don't want to trust it, if I let it go, it'll be okay. But it really is, if I let it go, because I am a responsible person, it's still, the memory that I don't want to do that again is still there. I just don't have to
dwell in it.
Yeah.
Live with it.
Yeah, that's where, when it becomes a lesson learned, a learning experience, you remember the lesson, but you don't dwell in the misery of it.
Yeah, and in that way, it's kind of like past lives in your own life.
Yeah.
Because it stays with you, and it becomes a part of, at least in my experience, it becomes a part of who I am. Like it changes where my path goes.
Changes.
Yeah.
Anything that you can incorporate of your own self, past or present, that contributes to your benefit, it makes you a more whole person, is a great thing. Yeah, there's negatives, but you just look at those as a learning experience and let it go. You don't get caught up in the emotions of it. So you just say,
That's easier said than done.
Yeah. It's just like, you look back, I got my butt kicked there, but I learned from that. Never do that again.
But I think I'm understanding what you're saying, and I think I see your point, because what I think you're saying is, if you don't allow yourself to experience and go through that shame, to get past it, then you're like repressing it, which I also talked about.
Which was in the next lesson, right? Yeah, that was sort of my, that was, and it was almost like, I don't know if there's a fear there of like, almost like disconnecting from what you've been through. It's almost like
the baby with the
well, it's almost like, yeah, I'm not gonna feel that, I'm just focused on the future, just on the future. It's almost like I worry, I don't know what it is.
That's
I like-
hard to do.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's the thing about past, present, and future. The past you can't change.
Mhm.
The present you can improve. The future, well, that's yet to happen. So you do the best in the present. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's, the one thing I really did like, it was in 18, if you cannot give it your self-approval, by all means, let alone. So to me, it was like, that was excellent advice for future, to prevent future negative feelings like shame. Because preferable to having shame, complete self-approval and trust in oneself should be ultimate goal in all decisions.
Right.
That slammed home for me. I really like that, because that was like, you're so completely, you're not doubting, and there's none of the negativity that's going to take you with it into it. So all of that doesn't need to be necessary.
Right. See,
That's where my fear comes in.
and you have control over all of that. You have control over all of that. How much something like that affects you, you have absolute control over.
But if you don't know if you're not positive what right is, because I've been, in my past, I've been in a place where I thought everything I did was right. I had no, I was there. But I wasn't doing things that were in line with my spirit.
Right.
But I didn't realize that at the time.
Well,
And I'm afraid of that happening again.
well, no.
So
First off, you're not where you were before. Where you are
That's
now
true.
is not where you were before.
That's true.
You're a better person now. You're a more complete person than you were
Wiser.
before. Yeah, exactly. So, that, you shouldn't be carrying that fear forward, because you've been through that. You've closed that door behind you. and you've opened up a new door in front of you.
But that's not what you're talking about? You're not afraid if you let go of the shame that you'll do it again? Or,
Well,
I find what I fear comes back to me.
Well, you know, you know, what you look for, you generally will find.
you'll find. I don't, I'm still wrestling with all of it. It's like there's just this thing about, because the next one, like she pointed out, about, you know, expression versus repression. And they're saying, forget it. Oh, forget, you know, like, focus. And I get it. You know, stay present, stay in the moment. If your thoughts come up, and it's like there's something that happened in the past that you felt shame or anger or bitter or whatever, forget it.
You know, well, see, now
And to me, that's like, I'm like, there's like, because that's what I want to do. But how do I know that there isn't something important there? That emotion is like it says, if your lessons, if they don't have emotions with them, they're not powerful because they just don't stick.
that's what I was talking about. It'll come back. It'll come back up if it needs to, like when it's time. That's my experience. If I forget it, it comes back up when I need to learn more about that thing that happened back.
see, but you have to be careful about reading too much into it. See,
Yeah.
Obsessing.
yeah, obsessing about it.
Because you're not moving forward when you're
No, you're not,
You're just
because
spinning around in
you're-
circles.
yeah, yeah, you know, it's
Donuts
like-
in the dirt.
You know, that's like, yeah, it's like in politics, you know, left wing, right wing, you know, they tend to be birds that fly in concentric circles and make no forward progress.
Yeah.
So anything that you're gonna latch onto that's gonna hold you back from improving and learning, is not, something you wanna do. You look at it as a learning experience, you don't dwell on it or anything else, you just resolve that,
You don't try to figure it out.
yeah,
That's
it'll
fine.
keep you awake at night.
I'm like, if I can figure this out, it'll never happen again. I just gotta figure it out.
Yeah, well, but see, that, you know,
It
that's.
doesn't work, I know.
That's when the mind says, you know, let's try and reason this out, you know, and it drives the subconscious mind crazy, because it's just ready to take whatever answer you give it, you know.
Yeah.
Well, the emotion gets in the way.
Yeah, and that's,
My emotion gets in the way, and then I'm back in the emotion, and then I'm like, where did I start again? But, you know, so.
see, and that's why people used to think that I was a rather cold and uncaring person. No, I wasn't cold and uncaring, I was just balanced and in control.
Yeah.
And I don't recommend that level of discipline to everybody, all right? If it's in your path to do that, then you will work toward that, whether you realize that you are or you're not. And not everyone is comfortable at that level, because there won't be that many people that you can fall back onto for guidance. You know, it's like I was saying earlier on, you know, it's like a mountain. You know, at the bottom of the mountain, you got a lot of company, but as you start climbing that mountain, you're gonna have less and less people around you. And it's up to you, to the individual, to decide how comfortable if they're gonna be at a level, or if they wanna keep looking for that ultimate truth. Realizing that when they get close to the pinnacle, of course, the goal line will be moved,
Yeah.
but they may only be themselves and one or two other people there. So you go to, you know, everyone is encouraged to go to the level that they're most comfortable with. You know, and there's no expectation of learning everything in a single lifetime. It is not an easy path to do. I mean, I've been at it for over 40 years, and yeah, I have some understandings that I have achieved, and I have some recognitions that I've been accorded, and there are some things that if I had a week of blue moons, I couldn't even begin to relate to you certain experiences. It's just something that you evolve to and you learn. So are we okay on all of that? You know, like I say, you know, shame is fine, learning experience, recognize the lesson, file the learning experience away, and say resolve not to do that again, and let it go. Don't let it be excess baggage.
Don't let it haunt you for the rest
Right.
of the time.
Right. You know, be like the Odd Couple, you know, and with Walter Matthau and you know, and said, yeah, I know you'll die and you'll follow me around, you know, and haunting and cleaning. Okay, the next lesson is self-dependence. And this one is very poignant, and you will see what I've been talking about. As rapidly as possible, every student of truth should reach the place he is able to solve life's problems for himself, everybody to their own level. There are crises in life where one may feel the need of the counsel and assistance of another. But little by little, as one comes into a consciousness of the truth, he will cease to look without for help, drawing his supply from the fountain of all wisdom and all knowledge, to which he has access at all times through the divine within. You know, it's like you get to a point where you don't have to know everything, you just get a library card to the universe where all the knowledge is. And you go in and you present your card, check out the knowledge you need, and then in 14 days you turn it back in. Or you face a fine. One of the strongest indictments that can be brought against any teacher of truth is the fact that his students remain dependent upon him. They do not learn to walk alone, but rely upon the strong arm of their teacher to prevent their falling. We would not think very much of a swimming teacher if his pupils continued to depend upon him to keep them from drowning. His work is to so train those who come to him for instruction that by practice they can swim independently of anyone, and in time are able to assist others in learning to swim. The study of truth is the study of life and its laws. One of the fundamental laws of being is that the responsibility for all the conditions of life, its environment, health, success, social, and family life rests directly upon the individual himself. It can be readily seen that no one can successfully assume the role of prop for someone else. The most one person can do for another is to point the way. And that's what I do. Many truth students do not get very far in their self-development because they continually depend upon someone else. They grasp a part of the truth with reference to concentration and visualization, attempting to solve all their problems by that method. Knowing someone in whom they have great confidence and seems to have much success in bringing the unseen into physical manifestation through the use of concentration and visualization, they refer every difficulty to that person and believe their measure of success in any experience is entirely due to that person's treating. Such a student does not grow in knowledge and understanding of the higher laws. In fact, they remain as helpless and unstable as before they begin the study of the truth. The only point of difference is that they have shifted their faith from conscious mind effort to the efforts of some individual on their behalf. It is a great temptation to many teachers to encourage a lack of self-dependence in their students. So long as these people continue to, these people tend to come to them for treatment, this teacher believes his work to be enlarged to that extent. It may operate the other way, however, for his lack of sincerity may keep many people away who are in need of assistance and who would greatly benefit by his teachings and treatments. If a teacher is so weak as to feel that his livelihood depends upon, or that his condition will be improved by allowing people to continue leaning upon him for the solution of their problems, he is not strong enough to be of any benefit to those depending upon him. If he has a working knowledge of the truth, he knows that his well-being from every point of view is dependent upon nothing except his own consciousness, and the number of people who come to him from day to day is no concern of his. Life unfolds for him and attracts to him all things necessary for his sustenance. And that's what I've been saying. If you're true to the work, you have no need for concerns. The universe will provide for you. I have found that to be true. And that assistance is dependent upon your belief that the universe will provide. You know, it's like you trust in the higher self, and what you will get what you need. It may not be a lottery winning or anything like that, but you will get what you need. No treatment for health, prosperity, or the solution of any problem whatsoever is complete unless there is in it an element of instruction. The patient must be taught how he can help himself. The first steps will have to be very elementary, but in the course of time, his consciousness of the truth will grow until finally he develops to the point where he will become his own best healer. With a great many people, when anything goes wrong, the natural tendency is to at once do something about it. They have never been taught to sit down quietly and listen for the voice of intuition to guide them through the difficulty. They immediately go to a lawyer, a doctor, a practitioner, or someone else according to the nature of their problem. Their own higher self, which has access to all knowledge and which, if relied upon, would solve every problem correctly, is not taken into account at all. And that is, that gets to the point of an esoteric maxim which says, perfect love, perfect trust. Perfect love for the universe and all things in it, and a perfect trusting of that divine force upon which all things are dependent and answerable to. And it can be a stretch to put that much trust into something that is an intangible thing. But personally, I have found it to be a very, very true maxim. If I didn't, I couldn't be here doing what I'm doing. You doing okay, Nikki?
Oh, yeah. This is deep.
And we're only on lesson 8. You know?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about, I'll go to a place where I have that trust, and it's a very peaceful place. Even when bad stuff's happening, but I seem to keep getting swirled back into stuff.
Yeah. Well,
bad habits, whatever.
Well, that's the problem of being in the physical world.
That's the problem of being human, huh?
Yeah, yeah. In essence, that's very true. So you take the good and the bad together, and you thrive off the good, learn from the bad. A certain woman has been a student of truth for many years, but does not as yet have a consciousness of her own divinity. She continues to rely upon her teachers for prosperity and success in her affairs. As a result of this reversal of the law, she is not successful in her business dealing. She operates a rooming house, and when any of her rooms are vacant, she immediately calls up one or more of the practitioners who are her friends and asks them to treat that new tenants may be found. One of her teachers also has a large home and rents out a few rooms. For a while, she was not able to keep them filled, but she has a very fine understanding of the truth. She did not call upon anyone to treat for her, neither did she treat along this line for herself. She realized that she is at all times in possession of her good, that her life is not dependent upon the renting of any number of rooms. So she maintains her consciousness of peace and harmony and continues on her upward path to higher soul unfoldment. Her supply comes as needed. And that's like all these esoteric schools. They charge for all their lessons, and some of them are just outrageous. They need people pay to sustain them. Instead of trusting in the forces, the powers that they prescribe, it's sort of like the old saying, what is it? Trust in God, but keep your
Tie up your camel.
Yeah, tie up your camel. Yeah.
It's interesting.
And so
Trust in all of it, tie up your camel.
yeah, same thing. Yeah, and the thing is, I've known over my years of experience, I've known a lot of people who charge anything, from $25 to $100 a lesson, and then they have, membership fees and all of that other stuff. They need people to sustain them. And people like that, I wish them well, and God help you.
So much of this stuff is in the Bible. Like, that is totally in the Bible.
Yeah.
Ask and you shall receive.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another huge one. But it just, I don't know, it seems like a shame that so many people that are religious can't expand. Like they're afraid of this, of a lot of metaphysical stuff. It's of Satan, or it's
Right.
not safe. And it says in the Bible to seek. You have to seek. Seek. If you won't even look at something, how can you?
Yeah. Well, and if you look at all of the generally speaking Western philosophies, all right, whatever is Christianity or whatever, and you look at some of the Eastern philosophies, if you strip all the terminologies away, and you get to the root of the philosophy itself, you'll find they're all basically saying the same thing. It's just people are just want to argue over words.
Yeah, and kill.
Yeah, yeah,
My God's bigger than your God.
yeah.
My God's bigger and more powerful than your God.
Except when you get to a situation like, who is that physicist?
Stephen Hawkins?
Yeah, Stephen Hawkins, who has made a statement along the lines of he didn't believe in God. Well, he got a message. God doesn't believe in you.
He said he got a message?
No,
I thought you were saying he had it. Yeah, I don't know.
This little computer generated voice.
Okay, moving on. As long as we keep our attention upon our affairs, whether it be material objects or people who we think can aid us, we will fail to contact the source of wisdom and power within ourselves. The solution to our present problem and the solution to every problem in life is in universal mind. If this other person can get this knowledge with reference to our problem from universal mind, how much easier should it be for us to get that same information which directly concerns ourselves? All knowledge and all wisdom necessary for its full and complete expression are available for every individual. All they have to do is to receive it, and they can do this by getting into a relaxed, quiet state and expressing gratitude for the revelation which is already his, even though he may not see its physical manifestation for some time. It is not a difficult process to obtain the necessary wisdom for our guidance from universal mind, for the vessel is ready, will be filled. There is more knowledge waiting to come through into physical manifestation than there are people ready to receive and become a channel for its expression. Be an open channel. As in the Bible, the expression it says, before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The best teacher is the one who does his work so thoroughly that his pupil does not have to look him up or counsel with him when the course of study is completed. The teacher points the way to the one who could not see it. The pupil looks in the direction indicated and in time says, yes, I see the path now. Goodbye, I'm off. And the thing of it is, we all have our own individual paths. And there are some things that are universal in the truth and understanding that applies to all paths. And when the end of the course arrives, then you will be on the path that you feel you need to be on. It won't be my path, but you will have the path that you know will be yours.
I don't know what's best for someone else's path, because
Right.
they're on their own stuff.
Right, and all you can do, it's like when I work with people, I can work within most any philosophy, whether it's Western or Eastern or esoteric, advanced, Kabbalistic, or whatever. I find, if I know where, establish where the individual is coming from, I can relate to them on their level, and I can guide them on their level to where they need to be going. I don't want to convert them to where I'm at. That's not their path. So I work with them on the path that they're on. Moving on, no teacher has absolute knowledge and understanding. If he did, he would not be on the earth plane, and I grant you on that. He would be in the realm of perfected spirits. Therefore, you may in time attain a better understanding of the truth than your teacher, for you are not limited by his degree of understanding or by that of anyone else. Hence, you do not see that by continuing to depend upon someone else, you are robbing yourself of the possibility of the highest attainment. I am one step in the ladder of your development. I expect you all to reach levels that I have yet to understand. But I want to be a foundation, a good foundation for you to build on. What you do with it is up to you. Many students fix their attention upon the personality of the teacher. In my case, I have no personality. When this is the case, the truth as expressed by the teacher loses much of its power when the teacher is away. Therefore, look beneath the personality of any teacher, examine his teachings, and bring your understanding of the truth to bear upon them. If they are true, accept them but do not become attached to the teacher. These principles were true before he even knew of them and will remain true for all time, even though this particular teacher might later reject them. No one has a monopoly on the truth. This is one commodity where the control of which can never pass to the hands of a man-made trust. All the truth which you can understand is yours today. More will be yours tomorrow, if your capacity for understanding has grown. And as Jesus said, he that hungers after righteousness shall be filled. When you are in trouble, go to another for advice. You may or may not receive correct counsel. This is true regardless of how far advanced the other individual may be. If he depends upon divine light to help him in the solution of your problem, his answer will be correct. But if for any reason at that moment he is not in the higher consciousness, but depends upon his conscious mind to reason the matter out, he may not find the right answer. It is imperative for you that all of life's problems be solved correctly. Therefore, do not give this work, which is of such paramount importance, into the hands of someone else. Let that be your task, and so train yourself in the knowledge and operation of the law of that being, that no mistake will be made. We see persons consulting others regarding the most sacred and vital experiences of their life, and acting upon the advice given them. Practically all truth teachers and practitioners are sincere in their work and do all in their power to help their clients. Nevertheless, they are human and may err. You will not err if you go to the source of all power and wisdom for your answer, and when you receive the right answer, you will be aware of its correctness. And that goes back to what I was saying before. If you receive an answer that doesn't really sit with you, don't discard it, put it on a shelf. In time, it will prove or disprove itself. Allow it, and it will do that. Go to your teachers for development so that you can learn to help yourself. Learn to depend upon yourself for the right decision in all your affairs. Begin at once, even in the smallest details of daily life that may seem to be of little importance. If there exists any question with reference to a question, seek the right answer by going into the silence and communicating with the Infinite One. If you will begin this training in all sincerity and earnestness, within a short time you will be able to work out the intricate details of the most difficult situation as it affects your life. Into the silence take the thought, the solution to my problem is in the infinite mind. Then in a relaxed state, quietly wait for illumination. Do not allow your mind to be blank, but keep it on the question before you in an easy way, not trying to reason it out, but feeling that the answer will come. If it does not flash through your mind while you're in the silence, thank the Father that you have received it, and a little later, in some way or other, the solution will be revealed to you. In this way, you consciously connect yourself with infinite wisdom of which you are a part. Continue your statements of truth from the previous lessons and add the following. The solution of my problem is an infinite mind. So now you have a combination of the mantra, I am peaceful, I have the power to think, I am in quiet meditation, I am contacting my good now, I am powerful, I am my own authority, I am the expression of the divine, the solution of my problem is an infinite mind.
That's good.
Any questions, comments?
Good stuff.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of far out. I don't know which legislation is offered for me and says, if someone, calls you and asks you for advice or something, you really can't tell them. I mean, if I think I know what's best for them, I really don't. So how do you handle that? What do you do?
Well, first off, you ask, well, what do you think about it? Because the chances are when they contact you, they haven't really thought about it. They're in a panic mode, and the last thing that comes to their mind is, they should probably think about it. So, the thing is to, if you can initially shift it over to them and let's think about this, think about it. Don't put the panic away and think about what you're trying to find out, what you're asking. And then, now, if you're a person who is intuitive, who is able to read an individual's energy or their aura or whatever, you may be able to guide them in a direction that they may not have thought about looking. And that's okay to do that. You can, if they refuse to do that, then you can say, the only thing you can do is to say, well, in a situation like that, I would think that this could possibly be a solution. It may or may not be for you. For me, I could see it as a solution. But you have to analyze where you are at and figure out what is best for you. You can't let them shift that responsibility of decision onto your own shoulders. I mean, you got enough on your own. So the thing is to put it back onto them and encourage them to find their own answer. You be a guide, but not the solution. And when I've done readings, that's the way I generally work, is, I will guide you to find that solution which is already available to you that you just don't see because of the panic of the moment. You calm the mind, the heart can see. Any more comments?
I just remembered the other part that was in there, and it was where in the Bible Jesus is talking about, not worrying about going to the church to communicate with God, that each person can do it on their own. Yeah, and that was the other thing that struck me within that one paragraph.
Yeah, well, it's like I knew a guy when I was back in the late 70s or so. I was staying in a domiciliary, a VA domiciliary. Excuse me. And there was this one guy who, God bless his soul, he would be down on his knees in an instant praying to God. He would be bawling, tears would be flowing down his face, just bawling and just just God. It was heart-wrenching to watch the guy. And one day, I just happened to say something to him, all right? And I interrupted him right in the midst of one of his, whatever it was that he referred to it. And I said, you keep asking God for an answer, but here's the problem I see with it. Not only are you asking so often, you're asking so poorly. You know, you're praying, but you're praying so poorly. Give the guy a break, you know, shut up for a change and listen. And that just threw him back, rocked him back on his heels, literally, because no one had ever talked to him like that before. And, you know, his episodes became less frequent. He was as ardent as ever, but he was less frequent about it, you know, and less vocal about it. You know, it's not a matter that you pray so often, it's a matter that you pray so poorly. You know, so if you're asking questions, take a break and listen for a change.
Did he start listening?
Huh?
Did he start listening, or was he still making so much noise he couldn't hear the answer if it came?
A jackhammer next to him wouldn't have
Oh,
registered.
so that's one of those.
I mean, this guy would have tore your heart out. Watching him, just, I mean,
He was so earnest and trying
Yeah,
so
I mean-
hard.
yeah, boy, he dropped down on his knees like that. And tears, I mean, just literally tears would pour out of his eyes. Just
It's
begging
not
you.
funny, it's actually
It's
horrible, but
hysterical.
it's still funny. I mean, I feel sorry for the guy, huh?
You know, and
But it didn't help, huh?
no,
Bad.
it was just a matter of, finally I just, you know, I wish you well. And if you don't get your answer, it's not because the other guy isn't listening.